Let goodness, fairness, and most importantly, love prevail in business. Profits will inevitably follow. NK is devoted to the Indian hand-knotted rug industry, with an aim to give required exposure to the exemplary skill of the artisans to the world, and to empower its real owner and creator, the Indian weaver. Morning, NK.
Hello.
How are you all today?
Fine.
Excellent. What we've got today on Think Human Being, and it's a conversation with magic makers. And it's really all about the love of being human, purpose-led brands, this beautiful world, and reimagined potential. And today I've got an incredible human being with me. I'm very honored to have this conversation. And it's Nand Kishore Chaudhary, and I will call him NK from now on if that's okay, joining us today. And we're just going to have a chat about your beautiful journey in life. I'm just going to do a small introduction. If you don't mind, I'm going to read a little bit here. A little bit about Nand Kishore Chaudhary and his purpose and values and where he comes from in the world. I strongly believe that developing an empathetic approach helps in connecting people. Empathy is a transformative force in business and life that allows leaders to empower those around them beyond numbers and profits. Businesses can transform societies, and when driven by love, they can truly transform individuals. Placing love at the heart of business with a focus on holistic well-being has been my mantra. I always empathize on love, compassion, and simplicity in action. Business is next to love. It is the creator and preserver of civilization. My mission is to connect our artisans to their inner self by nurturing their creative capacity so that they are empowered to fulfill their aspirations and live a dignified life. Found that absolutely beautiful. Welcome, NK. Thank you so much for chatting to me this morning. How are you?
Thank you. I'm fine.
Excellent. I just wanted to start. I mean, I've read that quote of yours about business and love. And I just wanted to ask you, particularly where we are in the world at the moment, with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, how do we run our businesses knowing that there is so much change that is needed in the world? You know what I mean? We almost have to be in two spaces as one. So how do we run our businesses and then also focus, on changing the world and making it a better place?
I will start by telling a story about myself. When I was in the last year of my college, one day my business administration professor came to the class and called out my roll number and asked me to stand. Afraid that why he will punish me because I am very disciplined student. I do homework on the time. Then he took a test copy in his hand and showed to everybody in the class that see the answer this boy has written. The question was, what is the definition of business? And what I replied is, business is next to love. Business is next to love. It is the creator and preserver of civilization. Then the professor said, this boy will become a unique businessman one day.
That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So is that something that you've always believed, that business and love are together? Because it's something that we don't see in the world, that much in terms of business and love. It's very much business and profit. Is that something that you've always held at your heart?
Yes. Since I was child, I was driven by love, compassion, and I always joke with my people that the God don't put the price tag on the love. So people stop buying. Because when the love don't have the price tag, nobody will buy it.
That's amazing. And I mean, NK, you've been doing this since 1978. And I think when you started your business, I think from what I've read about the story of Jaipur and how you started it, is that you started it with love, but I think you didn't receive a lot of love in return. I mean, it was kind of against what everybody thought at the time.
Yes, when I started this business, the first challenge was from my own family members. My parents told me that these weavers, they are from the untouchable class, and they will not allow them into the home. And my neighbors told me that they will not allow them into the neighborhood. And when I go to any party or gathering in my town, generally people reject to shake hands with me, that you are working with the tribal. You are working with the untouchable people. And that time I realized that how we can judge a person on the caste and how the human being may be different. And I also found that I am a part of the family. I am the part of the society, which is very highly hypocritic.
That is amazing. And have you? I see now that you employ 40,000 artisans around India. Amazing, creative. I've looked at some of the carpets and how creative these women are. Has it changed? Has people opinion of you working with untouchables or empowering the women, in the villages? Has that changed since you started Jaipur?
Yes, it is a big change globally, because when C.K. Plat did the case study, and I got hundreds of awards and so many recognition. So that at the global level, people start thinking that I'm doing which is right for the business, which is right for the life. And when C.K. Plat did the case study, the people around me, in my family, in my society, and my colleagues, then they started trusting me.
That's amazing. Unbelievable. And tell me, if you think back, I mean, it's very nice when people say, when I talk about love in business, people look at you strangely because they say, no, it's, don't come and talk about love. It's almost like not a tangible thing, that it's, not related to profit. I'm sure there's been times. Have there been times in the business where, and I'm sure COVID was one of those things, where it was really under pressure, in terms of the profit and being able to survive. How did you stay in that space? How did you still operate from the place of love and make those decisions centered around empathy and love? How did you balance those two things?
When I started my own export, when I started Jaipur, most of my business people globally told me that, Mr. Chaudhary, you are a very good human being, but very bad businessman. Because all the time you talk nonsense about love. Love don't work in the business. But at the time I knew that the people who are cunning, the people who are not doing the right things, when they will lose the business, the customer will come to me. So one day it became upside down. But I always trusted myself, my intuitions. And now Jaipur is a global brand.
That is amazing. I just wanted to say I absolutely respect, because I think in all the businesses that I've worked with, and we look at capitalism and the way that people have structured businesses, that people at the top of businesses become so inaccessible. You can't reach them. I just wanted to say it's absolutely amazing that when I reached out to you, and Dipali is also on the call at the moment, is that I just feel an absolute sense of human engagement, that I could be coming from anywhere in the world and I'm as important as anybody else that is contacting you. How do you do that? In the time, things are so busy at the moment. We hear about people complaining about we have no time for things, there's pressure, there's business. How do you keep your humanness in every conversation, in every email? I was actually looking at one of your beautiful LinkedIn posts this morning, a meeting with some of your weavers that you had. And someone was just saying, it's just incredible that you keep this childlike awe of the world and the people in the world. How do you do that every day? Because, we all go through ups and downs and pressure. How do you stay centered?
when I when I got rich, when I got famous, so many people told me that Mr. Chaudhary, now you are a VIP, you are a big man, so you must only meet the elite people. And at that time, I realized that because I was grounded in my whole life, and that is the beauty of our business model. So I must be more grounded now. So the more I will be keep myself ground, the whole elite world will will come to me.
Incredible.
And the second, which I realized that I'm at the age of 70, and now it is the time to come back from where I started and become like a child again. Because now I'm a wiser child. When I was child, I was innocent, but I don't have the wisdom. So now I am a wiser child. So whatever I will do with my people, with my customer, it will bring the joy, it will bring the happiness, and it worked.
That's amazing. Oh, and we talk, I mean, Jaipur is really like, it's really expanded. You have people in America, you have shops around the world. I see you export to 60 countries and employ all those wonderful artisans in India. I've always, like, how did you keep that at the heart of your business? I mean, in terms of getting new people on board, how do you hire the people? How do you make sure that they have the same love for the business, for the people? Is there something special in your recruitment process? You know, how do you do the training? How do you keep people in that space to make sure that it carries on like that when one day when you're gone and that gift continues to the world?
I think this is the most challenging part of the business. So what we learned by making so many mistakes, that at present we only hire the people who are highly aligned with our values, with our purpose. One day I was sitting in my office and I got the intuition, and I was thinking that I am hiring so many people and they are not aligned with our purpose and values. So we have a very huge turnover of the employee. So the intuition came to my mind, and I called all my HR people and asked them that from today, change the name of HR department. The new name which we gave is the Search for Divine Soul.
That is amazing.
I ask my people that from today, you should not take the interview of the age, of the experience, of the degree. From today, we must only focus on the people who are searching the purpose and meaning in their life. They will be my co-travelers. They will travel with me. And they will enlighten with me, with my journey. And thank God, after that, we are getting more and more and more people who are highly aligned with Jaipur.
That is amazing. Search for the Divine Soul is the name of your human capital department, your HR department.
Yes.
I absolutely love that. And in terms of, I see you doing so many things within Jaipur. In terms of, I saw recently mindfulness classes. I also, when we spoke the other day, about that you also have a great interest in Jaipur farms and looking at the food, you know, and the food that we're eating in these spaces. So it's very focused not just on, the carpets and the beautiful pieces of art that you're creating, but on the people. And you're also now expanding in terms of focusing on the environment and the food that we eat. I was actually thinking about it the other day. I was thinking about business strategy, and I was wondering, And I had this question that kept popping into my mind, like, where is water in a business strategy? And, where is food in the business strategy? Because everything is so connected. What does that look like in terms of when you're putting a strategy together for Jaipur, or you're planning for the future? I mean, are you planning from the center of this is love and, how do we keep this going? Or how are you looking at where you are in the world and the contribution that you make to the world?
10 years before, when I have a lot of problem in my business, I was always busy and always solving the problem. One day my son called me that he has found a land and he needs my opinion before he buy. So when I went to see the land, I found that in nature, there is no hierarchy, no management, and no crisis, no problem. And then I got the idea that from today I must learn from the nature, that how the nature manages itself. And nature not only manages itself, but it's also regenerate.
Yeah.
And I asked my son Yogesh that we must buy this land and I will start the organic farming from here. And I will learn that how the nature regenerates itself. And I can use the same principle in my life, in my business too. And then I started organic farming. And I found slowly I started learning that I'm so unconscious, that I'm doing so unnecessary things. And I'm not following the law of the nature. I'm following the law of my own, and that is driven by ego.
That's incredible. And how do you see that? I mean, how do you see those learnings? So now that you've had that experience, although I think that you've always been following the law of nature, probably right from the beginning, but I mean, now that you see that and the cycles of nature, how do you think we can apply that into our businesses? I mean, is that something, how would you see that extending out to all the artisans, in the villages? And how do you think that would change the way that you think about the business and where the business is going, or, leadership for the future?
But my realization is that the past businesses were driven by the masculine powers, and present businesses are driven by the brain, and the future businesses will be driven by the heart. Because I have got so many very good friends in Bain and Company. And when they came to visit Jaipur, they told me that, Mr. Chaudhary, we found one thing, that the whole management science in last 50 years have forget about the human beings.
Mm.
And your company is a great example of that, how the humanity, how we can do the business with keeping the human at the first place.
It's amazing. It really is against, I mean, I said, and I all respect to Patagonia, because I do love Patagonia, but I've been telling people that as Patagonia is to planet, I feel that Jaipur is to people. Like it really centers, I mean, it's just amazing, that human experience. It is built around being human and love. It's so funny how we have this thing about love and we feel that it's not a strong word. It's such a powerful word. But when we put it into the context of business, people feel very uncomfortable in that space. It's very, very interesting. So if you can tell me, NK, how do you, I know that you say that you're learning from nature and you are, it's a very busy world. And I don't know if you find it, but I find myself very overwhelmed sometimes. There's a lot going on in the world that is negative. You know what I mean? We have the wars, the way we're treating each other as human beings, and what we're doing to the earth. And it's quite it's quite overwhelming, you know? How do you stay connected and stay in that authentic space, you know, and still remain positive in the work that you're doing? What does a day in your life look like in terms of your routine? You know, is there something that you do all the time? Something that you can help us, you know, tell us a trick that you remain centered?
Because the biggest thing is the introspection, that I regularly introspect myself, that what I do, what I did yesterday, that was only due to my habits or my unconsciousness. So I'm trying regularly how I can expand my consciousness. Because the biggest problem is the conditioning. So the more we expand our consciousness, then we came out of the conditioning and we see our people, the world as it is, not as I want them to be. Because the biggest lens in business is to see the people is driven by the greed, power, or ego. So when I expand my consciousness, I came out of that, and I'm still working on that. It is a journey.
That is amazing. I've got a lot to learn and a lot of time till to try and become a better human being or better at being human. So an interesting practical thing for me, and I always just want to know this in terms of, you know, we say like the one thing, and you know, we're going to be purpose driven. We're going to put it at the hearts of our brands and try and be authentic like that. But what does a strategic, if you look at an annual planning or budget meeting at Jaipur, I mean, how do you lead those sessions? Is it still that we're going to grow? Because around the world, everybody's still talking about growth. We say one thing, and we say a lot about purpose and, you know, and impact and ESG and all these beautiful things. But at the end of the day, there's still a lot of, you know, chasing around growth in terms of business and in terms of money and wealth. So I'd love to give me some insight into what does that look like in your boardroom? How do those sessions start?
Yes, I think this is a great question. And generally, so many people ask me that, Mr. Chaudhary, how you became so successful by finding the for-profit solution for the society. And so I think that love has the biggest power. If I love myself, if I love my people, it start overflowing. And the more it overflow from me to my people, to my customers, the more they become efficient, and the more they can understand me, I can understand them. So our business goes smoother and smoother all the time. Because then there is zero distance from your people, from your customer. And that makes a unique business. We generally say that we don't sell carpet, we sell family blessings, we sell experiences, we sell stories. And if you want to buy our carpet, that is free. We don't charge for the carpet, we charge for the story, we charge for the experience, we charge for the love.
That's amazing. Incredible. So if you look at your life and some of the big learnings, like you said, you failed a lot. You said you failed a lot and you've learned a lot over the years. What are some of those big learnings? What are some of the big moments that have really shaped your thinking and where you are today?
My biggest learning is the ambition. Then generally in the business, we are driven by the ambition. And actually ambition is a path of destruction. So I also work very hard on myself, that how I can know my passion, how I can know my spirit. So instead of running the business through ambition, I should run my business with my spirit, with my passion. So the more I go deeper into my passion, the more my business became unique, and there is no competitor for me globally because I'm going deeper and deeper within me into my core.
That's amazing. And if you think, I mean, you said you've had failures, and I think in every business we have failures. You know, sometimes we're just in the wrong industry, or sometimes we're just in the wrong time or place, or, you know, with the wrong product. I mean, have there been things where you started or something within your business that you thought, oh, no, this really isn't working, you know, and then you said, okay, you let it go? Because I can imagine that you've had moments. I mean, I'm sure it hasn't been smooth sailing all of the time.
Yes, there are adults of moment, but I would like to talk about when I started Jaipur, a company. Within 3 years, I lost all the money which I earned in my whole life. And then I started thinking, what went wrong? And I have a very deep introspection. And I found that something is wrong within me. I did something which I don't know, but I have to accept it. The failure is not outside, it is from inside. Business is not outside in, business is inside out. So I have to see within myself, I have to introspect myself. And I found that I have a very big name in producing the carpet. I have a global name in producing the carpet in quality and quantity. And when I started my own export, I have a false feeling of goodness. And good is the enemy of best. And when I research on the internet, it says that I have a mental disease called euphoria. Then I started working on myself. I started learning. I developed new hobbies. I changed my leadership style. And that journey made me so successful.
That is amazing. It's absolutely an incredible journey. If you think, in terms of, I read a lot about how you have an absolute love for the creatives, the artists, the artisans that are working on your carpets in the villages. I just wanted to see here. I'm just going to read this last sentence from your bio because I thought it was really beautiful. NK is devoted to the Indian hand-knotted rug industry with an aim to give required exposure to the exemplary skill of the artisans to the world and to empower its real owner and creator, the Indian weaver. And I see that you have, I mean, it says here that 80% of your employees are women, of the weavers in the villages. Yes. And I thought that was such an interesting, I mean, I've been following your journey for many years now. And I was reading about how, as part of that Untouchables and the caste system, that you basically took the equipment or empowered those women by taking it to their villages, because that was such a barrier for them to be able to work in those spaces. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And also how you encourage, I mean, I must just say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I pronounce it incorrectly, the Manchaha range, is that how you say it? The Manchaha range, which is almost like it allows the weavers to express themselves in a palette without a pattern. Can you tell me a little bit about that journey and about that magic and that absolute awe of these women who have this creativity within them and empowering them, you know, in their worlds?
When I started this business 45 years before, as a contractor manufacturer, I have one thing, I have one vision, that one day I will connect the creative capability of my grassroots artisan to the global customers.
Wow.
So that was the vision when I started this. But when daughter, my third daughter Kavita, when she joined the business with me, she was studying in USA and joined business with me. So when she was going with me to the villages to meet my viewers, so many times she told me that, Papa, there are so many women, artisans, they are more creative than me. I always told her, how they be more creative? I will spend millions of dollars to get to study in the US and they never went to school. How they may be more creative? But then she chose 15 artisans among them and gave them the freedom and asked them that you make your own designs. What is going within your heart? Mansa means you are totally free to choose any design. What comes into your mind? And this initiative started in 2014. And now this initiative have won 21 awards. More than 15 awards is the global awards. And in 2014, one of our artisan, Bimla Devi, who never went to school, who never went out of her village, won the German Design Award in the gold category of her own design. And she flew to Germany to get the award.
That is absolutely amazing. That's absolutely incredible story.
Now it has become a global phenomenon.
It is incredible. I feel like I'm so excited. I feel like there's so much that we can learn from Jaipur, especially in the global south. I think we have so many case studies of businesses, in the global north. And there's just something about the global south and the energy that I think we can share with the world. Your stories, Jaipur stories, and I know it's not an ego thing. I know it's not just your story. I think it's everyone's story at Jaipur, and just so incredible. So tell me, I'm just really fascinated about holding this, this love and business thing together. And I know we're not talking about COVID anymore, but I mean, the world shut down in COVID, things changed. And I'm sure being an export business, you also lost a lot of revenue. How did that reaction, from your team, from your leadership team, in terms of what happened there? What did that look like? Where did that reaction come from? And how did you manage that period in Jaipur?
Yes. When the COVID started, all our viewers who are in the villages, they stopped going outside, and their children and their husband who are working outside, they came to the village. So during the COVID time, our production increased 30% because they have nothing to do except weaving the carpets. So we have a huge demand to send them to the raw material and these problems.
Oh, wow.
And at the same time, the global customers, they were also sitting into their home. So they started taking care of their home. So they started buying more carpets.
Okay.
So the production increased and the sale increased. And then people started asking that, Mr. Chaudhary, how did it happen? I told them that 45 years before, when I started this business, there were two criteria. One is work from home, and second is social distancing. And now it worked at the COVID time.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. I think I have two more questions. I know we're gonna run out of time because it's just such an incredible discussion. I have a question. So I have a question about money, okay, and the power around money, and your thoughts around money. I think for myself, I always find myself in a situation where I almost feel bad, like in terms of working in this capitalist world, and then earning money in a space, selling things or doing things, and also trying to come at it from a place of love and making it a better world, and maybe not believing in the system and thinking maybe there's a different system that we could be working to. What is your feeling on money, or your relationship to that in the business?
Because I always say that when you are driven by your passion, and when you love whatever you do, and when you love your people, and when you trust your intuitions, then you become the most creative person. So you enjoy your life, you enjoy what you do, and also your people also enjoy. And that became your business. But the business has the power, money have the power, because you are unique. So your product, your services are also unique. So you will earn more and more money due to your uniqueness. But generally people differentiate that when there is love, money don't work, and when there is money, love don't work. It is a misconception.
So you believe it works together, the love and the money?
Yes, definitely.
I'm a strong believer. I am an absolute believer that business can change the world. And I think you do too, that business can be a force for good in the world. We talk a lot about business being a force for good, but it really changing things. Do you believe that? Do you believe we can change the world through good business?
Yes, definitely. Recently, we have started a new department in our business, because we realized our business is all about art and culture. So we have started a new department, art and culture department, and that department will bring more innovation, more creativity, and it will bring a big change the way the people think. And I am sure that in the future, the Jaipur rug business is driven by heart, business is driven by love, business driven by authenticity, by purpose. That is the only way. And those business will last longer. And I think that time has arrived.
That's beautiful. If you look in your business, do you spend a lot of time helping people on this personal development journey as well? You know, you spoke a lot about self-awareness and introspection and looking at yourself and, you know, how you've grown and developed. Is that something that you do with all of your staff and your teams?
I spend most of the time to understand them, to define them, and to give them the direction so they can see themselves. Because I am developing my capability to understand their potential. And I found one thing, that most of the people, they don't understand themselves, and they have no knowledge about their capabilities. So most of my time is that I show them how capable they are and how they can bring the self-esteem, because now they are driven by the inferiority complex. So how they can bring their self-esteem and heal themselves, and they can have the better version of themselves.
It's absolutely beautiful. I'm jumping all over the place, but I have a question about, which I think is quite interesting, and I'd love to know what your feeling was. Obviously, when you went out to empower those women, you know, the artisans, and I know that you started with 9 artisans and now have 40,000 artisans in the villages. And obviously going into those spaces, and you must just help me here with the culture, but I think it was quite a male-dominated space, and maybe where the women weren't really, you know, supposed to work or kind of generate. Did that have any effect? Was that, I mean, how was that viewed? Like when you empowered the women in those areas, was that viewed positively or negatively, or by their families and by the communities that they worked in? Because maybe by the cultural norms of society, they weren't supposed to be working. Was that a challenge, or was that something that was difficult for the women?
So initially, when we started, it was difficult because then the men don't allow them the freedom. But when they started earning so much, and when those women started getting their global dignity, and they became from labor to artisan and artisan to artist,
Oh,
then the men in the whole village, they realize that these women have more power than us, and they are more respected, and it's changed the whole game of the village. Their thinking changed, and now most of our women in the villages, there are so many people come throughout the world. They shake hands with them, they talk with them, and when their husband come, when they are talking, they feel shy.
that's amazing. I absolutely love that. Labor to artisan, artisan to artist. Such a beautiful journey. I think that's such a lovely progression. I just have to say something, NK. I see you laugh so much. I love your laugh and your smile. How do you I can see that you keep joy alive in your life. That's incredible. How do you look at the world through that lens, and see the joy and see the happiness? Is that, like you said, you're returning to the child again? Is that something you've always done, or is that something that you are trying to do more of now?
I think the biggest problem of the world is that I want to show to myself that I am something. I'm a big person. Ego. So the more I'm driven by my ego, the more I'm inviting suffering, problems into my life, into my business. For me, the secret is how I can lose myself. The more I lose myself, the more I find myself.
That is amazing.
Because the power is losing myself.
That's absolutely beautiful. I love that. Okay, I think we're going to kind of start wrapping up. I know I'm taking a lot of your time for an hour. But if you look at leaders or people coming up or trying to start businesses who are really trying to start purpose-led businesses, they have an idea that they think can really add value or make an impact, or just something that they're absolutely passionate about. What is your advice? What is something that you would advise somebody to, do again, or something that you've learned along the way that you would just encourage them to keep going? What does that look like?
I think that if you don't know who are you, and if you don't know why you exist, there is no point having the business at all. Because only the businesses who is driven by the purpose and love, they survive longer. Otherwise, the business who is not driven by love and purpose, those have a limited life. So I think the biggest learning, the biggest advice from my side is that the business should be driven by the compassion. The business should be driven by our passion, by our spirit, not by the ambition. Because ambition became the problem. So convert your ambition into the compassion, and that will make a different new world, great world.
That is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. I would absolutely love to help tell your story to the world. It's just really incredible. I think it's what the world needs more of. Is there anything you'd like to add from your side? I could talk to you all day, but I know that we have limited time. I know Dipali's also in the background, and Dipali's welcome to jump on if you want to add anything. Is there anything you'd like to add, NK?
Yes, that if anything is not driven by love, it is not going to sustain.
That's incredible. It's such powerful advice. I think we have a way to go with business. I think it's still challenging, and I think we're changing people's minds as it goes. But it all makes so much sense. I just wanted to, I know that I didn't introduce you properly in the beginning. So just for when this goes online and when people are watching this, I just wanted to quickly give a little bit of your CV. I wanted to start this episode specifically leading with your values and your purpose, because I feel like we get so caught up in titles and ego that we don't hear the message properly. So I just wanted to say, and this is from your profile, that you are the founder. NK, or Nand Kishore Chaudhary, is the founder. He's a social entrepreneur, globally acclaimed social entrepreneur, and is the founder of Jaipur Rugs, which is one of India's largest manufacturers of hand-knotted rugs. And I know that you're often referred to as the Gandhi of the carpet industry, which always puts a beautiful smile on my face. He founded Jaipur in 1978 with just 2 looms and 9 artisans, and 4 decades later stands at Jaipur Rugs, becoming a global social enterprise exporting to 60 countries while providing sustainable livelihood to 40,000 artisans in 600 remote villages across 5 states in India, and again, out of which 80% of them are women. Okay. I know that a lot of people all around the world discuss your philosophy of totality, inclusion, and for-profit solutions to society, and that Jaipur has become a role model. So if you haven't heard about Jaipur, to anyone listening, please go in and check them out. You can find a lot of, I will include all the links in the case studies underneath the episode, but they are well renowned as a teal business model, which is about reinventing organizations and how we can do things differently. And you've been termed as the father of modern social enterprise, which I absolutely love, and has become a role model for business that can serve society and at the same time work in a capitalistic, institution. I'm just going to end, because this is one of my favorite quotes, and it really, I would encourage everybody to follow you on LinkedIn. I love the authentic way that you talk about leadership. But I'm going to end with one of your quotes, and it says, "Let goodness, fairness, and most importantly, love prevail in business. Profits will inevitably follow." Thank you so much, NK.
Thank you.